I will be happy to introduce our guest tonight is Stephie Clark. She is an Australian-born soft pastel artist known for her natural world of flowers and nature photography. I understand helps you with your art. And she's
Absolutely.
self-taught. She's now a full-time artist and divides her time between her, like, is that your hometown, Armidale?
Armidale is my hometown, but
Armidale.
right
Okay.
now, right now I'm down on the east coast of Australia at Emerald Beach.
Okay. And she does workshops from home, online, and abroad. And she has done her workshops and demonstrations in Europe, United States, Australia, New Zealand. She's a member of the Pastel Guild of Europe and has been a demo or a featured artist at IAPS in 2022 and again this year. So welcome,
Yes.
Steffi. We're so excited.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much, firstly, for having me. That's very nice of you to ask me to come and paint because I'll paint for anyone. So I am probably the most pastel obsessed woman you're ever likely to meet. I have enough pastels to last me 6 lifetimes. So I just love to paint. I paint every day. Already today, I've done 2, just to check that I could paint before my demo. So I'm not, as I said earlier, I'm not in my home studio. I'm with my daughter, but I've taken over the kids' toy room. So I'm just going to scan back and show you where I'm painting right now. So this is what I've done for my 2 grandchildren. This is a big chalkboard. So I did this maybe 2 years ago, 3 years ago, during COVID anyway. Yeah, so I've this is how we set it up. And my granddaughter has been painting with me this morning, God bless her. And this is how I have set up my little studio here. So there's a Barbie cubby underneath. This is my table. But I have a selection of pastels that I travel with. And then, I've done a couple this morning just to make sure I can paint. Because it's always a good thing to know that you can paint. And then I've got a piece of foam core board that I have nailed onto the kids' chalkboard. And I have my iPad hanging here and I have my piece of pastel mat. Normally, I do have a little dust catcher just here, but I haven't done that. I've been a bit slack and I should have done that, but I have not done that. So this is where we're painting, and this is what we are going to paint. So how cool is that? Now, I paint at home with my camera. Like, I actually paint behind the camera. So I've done the same with you guys. So you are actually closer to my easel or my wall than I am. So can you tell me, and these are Zara just wanted to tell you that these are her favorite colors. Because I said I was teaching the ladies how to paint, and she said, "Oh, Grandma, can I show them all my favorite colors?" And I said, "Okay, then I will let you do that." So these are Zara Sophie's favorites. Okay. Now, is that good for you guys? Can you see everything that you're supposed to see? You can see the reference photo. You can see the top and the bottom.
Yes.
Good. Okay, so I'm on a piece of pastel mat, 24 by 30 centimeters. I couldn't tell you. Oh, actually, I probably can tell you what that is. 9.5 by 12 inches. So I thought what we would do is and if you have questions, please stop me. The first thing I look at when I'm looking at, we're going to paint some wildflowers, and I had a couple of different, I have a couple of different reference photos. This one I've just come back from the Arctic Circle, and these were up in Norway. Aren't they just gorgeous? And, wherever I go, I just quickly snap. And sometimes I go to that free reference photos for artists. But one of my most important things when I start looking at a reference photo is the composition. So before I even put pigment on the paper, I make sure that I have a composition in mind. And for this one, I thought, not for any real Easter reason, but I thought this one the cross might be it sort of suits this here. So I thought what we would do is bring this line of daisies down and then down. So I've got my composition in mind. I love how that flows through. So I'm looking at my composition. We go back to here. So all the way through, I know this is where my composition is. The focal flowers will be down the page, not necessarily straight, but you know, they will take on something that resembles that. Now, that is one really, really important thing for me. The next important thing is, where is my light? Now, when you are looking at a reference photo, I think it's super important to make executive decisions, not to copy this. And you will see at the end of this that my painting will look nothing like this. Okay, but I use it as just that. It is just a reference for me to take inspiration from. So I first look at where I would like my light source to come. So I'm thinking what I might do is shoot my light source down, and always, and you'll see this when, if I was at home, you would see 100 little arrows everywhere. So during my painting, I mark where my light source is going to come. So I'm going to bring my light source in on that, just on the top left, and I'm going to bring it down, and I'll make sure that my viewer knows where the light is hitting some of these. This is one I did earlier today, just to show you, you know, you can decide where your light source is as you go along. But if you have that in your mind, you're making marks that are reminding you, oh yeah, that's right, the light source is coming here, so I'll mark that, or there. So it gives us a like a little visual reminder, more than anything, a visual reminder on, I do have that in mind, but then that doesn't mean it's always going to stay like that. Because if I get a good mark and the pastel gods shine upon me and I think, oh, I really like that mark, I'm more than happy to change it around if I think, oh no, actually, you know what? I really love that, or I really love that. Let's, you know, run with that. So does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah, good job. So with something like this, I don't usually sketch, but I will today, just to sort of give myself a bit of a clue on how these daisies are going to step down. Now, I kind of I am self-taught, so I would say that as as a um as a rule, I would say I don't know how to draw, but obviously I know how to compose. I know how to, it's almost like, I think it's almost like I know the theory, but all the rules are there to break. So I'm going to kind of just give myself a bit of an idea of where the focal flowers are going to sit. I don't tend to draw in where things are going to you know, absolutely be, because I like my painting to develop, and I like to read my painting as it develops, because when I paint from the back to the front. So, and by that I mean out of focus, right in the distance. That goes in first. Then I put my mid-ground in, and you understand mid-ground when I say the lost and the found edges. So I'm building depth as I go. So really, if you anything you see today here is just the Stephie Clark way. Probably you won't see it in a book, but it's just kind of the way that it's developed for me. So I do put in my background. My background is out of focus, but my background, I probably spend more time on my background than I do on anything else, because I really want to make sure that I get the light source addressed, and that I'm really happy with how it develops as it goes. So I really want to make sure that I've got, okay, that light, that little bit of pink is going to be my light source. I'm really going to pull that down. I want it on that left side. Remember, we've got it coming down that side. So in my background, I'm looking at everything that is out of focus, everything that sometimes I think sometimes the worst photos make the best reference photos, because there's no detail. Now, pastel matte is, under a microscope, pastel matte looks like Velcro. So when you are pushing in the pigment, and I'm layering and layering, gently, gently layering, when you're pushing that pigment into the pastel mat, it's setting it. So I don't ever, unless I'm sort of playing with mixed media, I don't do a wet underpainting. I think the reason that I don't do a wet underpainting is probably because I was super time poor when I was a practice manager, and I just didn't have time for any drying time. So for me, it was walk in, paint, walk out. And I guess that's really where it's kind of where that just pastels me and the paper has come in. And that this is what suits me. This is what I love. This is how I knew what I wanted my art to look like when I started painting. I would have to say that so I'm just getting those lovely dark values up in here.
Steffi,
My
do you
yeah,
have you pre-selected your palette, your colors?
no, no.
Okay.
Let me
You're
show
just
you what
grabbing
my
as you go.
colors. There you
Okay.
go. I don't ever pre-select because it's what takes my fancy in the minute and how I read it. No, I don't pre-select anything. No. But that's just a preference. It's not good, bad, or indifferent. It's just my preference. I'm just gonna have to pop that in. Yeah, I think it's a personal preference selecting, because I'm reading this now. If you ask me to paint it in another 2 hours, it might look completely different. So I guess I've yeah, no, I just like to be able to color is I have to say color comes very easily to me. So I read what I see in the minute, and then yeah, run with that. But I don't think it's a bad thing to pre-select. In fact, I think for some people it's imperative that you do have a bit of an idea. So, but I paint every day, so I kind of know where even though I'm not a clean, tidy painter, I'm a messy painter. In so much as I love to have my pastels untidy. I don't need them clean, and I don't need to know what colors. I can sort of pick them in a lineup because I spend so much time with them. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Do you have a favorite?
I do.
And
Depends. It depends which one, which favorite you want to know about. My favorite darks, definitely. My
okay.
favorite dark, yeah, my favorite darks, and get your pens out because these, I think, if you are going to be a floral artist, these are the darks you need. You need Sennelier 179, which is a beautiful deep green. You need a Sennelier 463, which is magic. That pastel is the most magic pastel that Sennelier make, and it is a beautiful indigo blue. And then you need, of course, we all need Terry Ludwig eggplant. So they are three colors I do not travel without. And more than just color, what we need is value. This is one thing that I teach. So I'm just putting my background in, layering. I've pulled all the flowers off in my brain. I've pulled all the flowers off, and I'm not really interested in where the flowers are sitting right now. So what I am interested in is getting where my lights are going, and I've got that light coming, remember, on the left-hand side. And I really, really love to set my values. So I'm looking at a nice combo. So our combos. I do everything very simplified. I'm going to go green and red. In lots of ways, this is just green and red, and there's values. So I would highly recommend everybody looks at their value chart and they look at their color combinations. But really, nature's done the color combination for us, don't you think? So you can see that I'm just gently pushing in. Oh, I'm gently just pushing in where I want my lights to sit. Or someone needs to mute on this.
Is that me? Is that my dog?
Are you there? Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. I don't know who.
Ah, oh, okay. That's all right. As long as you can hear me, I thought maybe I'd gone astray. So I'm just putting in some of these, you know, these out of focus. As a rule, I work from the top to the bottom, but really all I'm doing at this point is setting where I want my lights to sit. Yeah. Because you can see, you can almost see how it's coming together. I think you can see how it's coming together. Yeah.
Definitely.
I really, really love it. And then down in here, this is where I can start, you know, really bringing in. And let me just show you something very fancy. This is my 463, the most beautiful blue that you are ever likely to come across. 463. I was going to say that's 179, but I don't think it is. I think this one might be 170. Nope. This is the I'm a victim of my own crime sometimes. I can't tell which is which. So they're all 463. There is a green one here somewhere. And that's a bit of purple. So I'm just going to get that in there. And then I reckon this one. See, look at this. This is 179. And look at that glorious dark. So I'm painting the back part like that lovely deep dark. Getting those, it's almost when you zoom in, I'm looking at these dark, negative spaces, you know, and you need to get them in. You need to go. I think this is one thing that people don't realize is that we need to go darker than we think we need in order to create the drama and in order to create the depth in our art. I feel like, you know, we kind of a little bit tentative with going dark, but I can guarantee you 9 times out of 10, if a painting's not working, go darker. So I'm just going to start popping in some darks there. And then I'm going to bring my light through those darks. Look at this. Because once we've got those darks going on, we can bring our viewer's eye through with the light. Can you see how that's working? It's just, okay, we've got a little bit of that pink. I'm really loving that pink. I think it's schminky. I can feel that it's a schminky. So I'm just going to bring your eye down, see, in the background, with that little bit of pink going on in there. And then we're going to start. And just rubbing that in, I probably should tell you that my inspiration for art is, it really comes, these gorgeous, for me, these beautiful backgrounds come from Renoir.
Could you zoom back out a little bit, please? I think we lost
I
the bottom.
sure can.
Great,
How's
thank
that?
you.
Is that better?
It's better, yes. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, no problem. Thank you for telling me. Otherwise, I don't know. Yeah. So I would say that my inspiration for these backgrounds came from spending many hours in front of Renoir's. I love the gentleness of his backgrounds, and that's really where I wanted to bring my art, was to bring these gentle little backgrounds through and just almost invite my viewer in. Now look at this beautiful green sitting in here near the pink. Yeah, invite my viewer in to sort of sit with me and enjoy the softness that you can bring into fields, into florals. And florals are my absolute go-to. I absolutely adore as you can see, any sort of florals. I surround myself with them. But long before I painted, I was a gardener. So, you know, I've always spent a lot of time with flowers. And when I started painting, all I wanted to do was paint flowers. So can you see in the background how we're starting to build that lovely sense of light?
Mhm.
Yeah, we've just got that. And now we can sort of go, okay, well, I'm just going to move you guys that way a little. Now I can move a little bit more light. So I can go up a value and start hitting, you know, exactly where my lights are hitting in here. And now I can start putting in just a couple of like a little bit of movement on. Okay, I just think I need to warm this area here up before. This is where looking at your background and making sure your background is fixed and you're happy with that before you start putting things on top of your background. Now, I have found that the pastel mat is absolutely the best paper to do these multiple layers on. For me, there's nothing better than pastel mat. I really adore this paper and I can put many, many, many layers. So now I can just sort of go with a couple of, like, this is my lost and found, these are my lost and found edges where I can go, okay, there could be a little daisy up here. I'm not sure whether that light is bright enough yet, but what I'm going to do is maybe go, before I go too far, maybe just get a little kiss more light in there. So any questions about the background? I'm just going to up that light, just adding a little, it's not white. I don't add white until the very end. Well, you know, where I'm up to.
Steffi, on your pastel matte
Yeah.
color choice, is it always the gray background or do you use the other colors?
I always use grey, and that's just a personal preference. The only time I use anything different is if I can't get the grey, you know, if it's out of stock or whatever. But my other favourite paper, if you're allowed to have a couple of favourites, my other paper that I love is Lux Archival, and you can't get that in grey, so I have to use a white paper. But no, look, grey is just a preference. It's for no particular reason. It's just that I like to step up to grey. That's all. That's the only reason. Yeah. So I'm just going to add, you know, it's not really a daisy, but there's a little bit of a hint of a daisy. Yeah.
Mhm.
So this is where I can just sort of, these are my lost and found edges. At some point, I will tell my viewer exactly what I want them to see, exactly the daisy, you know, with lots of detail. But at this stage, all we're wanting is just those lost and found edges. Yeah. So I also think it's really interesting in a field, and honestly, nature does this for us, but in a field, it is really nice to see flowers in their different stages. I think it's lovely to see a bud. Then, you know, out here, look at this on the light. Maybe there's just a little bud there, or maybe there's just one that's going off the page that you can hardly see. And then just at least 3 values, dark, mid, and light. So I know my light's coming in on that area. It might just hit the top there. Oh, I've got a lovely dark green and then a mid green. And then when I want to come in and show my light, I can see how if you zoom right in, observation is really key too, isn't it? I can just pop a dash of light just there. And for now, that's probably enough light. But, you know, as I come closer, maybe I'll hit it with, as I get to finish, maybe I'll just hit it with that little bit of light to show my viewer that the light is coming in on the top and to the left. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah. So it's just a gentle build of these little flowers now until I want to tell you. So, you know, maybe some here. This is the 463, that beautiful blue. I'm just going to make some lines that help me show my viewer that, you know, there's something there. Maybe there's something a little bit dark, mid and light. I don't ever use black But that again is a very personal preference. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. It's just that I don't do it. It's just not something that sits nicely in my art. You know how we do have our favorites? I will always use periwinkle, which is, you know, that lovely, this one, that gorgeous blue. Most of my art will have that in it, but it's just a personal preference. It's more than anything. Now, just a couple of values, dark, mid, and light. Not telling too much, but just mentioning something. I can also see, look at that gorgeous little bit of pink in there. Might be something in the background. Just going to take some of the harder edges off and just leave a little gentle suggestion. I guess with my art too, it's more about suggestion than anything else. It is, I will tell you what it is eventually, but at this stage, it doesn't need to look like anything just yet for me. It needs to just be that mid ground. This is what gives our art depth. So any questions? Otherwise, I'll keep talking because I am a chatterbox. Just ask Cindy. I am a chatterbox.
The periwinkle, what is the brand on that one?
Look, I will use, I've got the Earthberry, I've got Terry Ludwig, I've got Unison, I've got Sennelier and Schminky, and also Giro. So look, I don't have a preference to the brand. I have a preference to the color. Okay, you're right, everybody? Yeah. So I'm just going to add a few little, you know, like wildflowers. I'm just going to add maybe a couple of little, what do you think? Maybe just a couple more of these bigger daisies. I guess that one of the most important things is to not put them in too much of a formation, you know, like you don't want lines, but we're remembering that we had our reference photo, our composition, and we know which way we want them to go. So we're starting to build that, you know, that cross kind of feel. So I know that this is where I want them to start building. So this is where I go, okay, this is where, you know, the periwinkle comes in every shade, you know, it's high, it's dark, it's light. I think it starts from ultramarine blue. But when you're using these to show light, if you go darker on one side, and this is where you can come in with your darker on one side because we know the light's coming in on that side, and then we can hit it with a little bit of schminky white. A little bit of schminky white. I'll be on vacuum duty here before long. Leaving a mess like that. But see how we can create by using our volumes, by getting dark on the shadow side, and you can use that blue and the yellow, and they sit so beautifully together. But we're starting to show our viewer. Can you see that? You guys are happy with that? I'll just zoom in so you can really see what I'm talking about. See how you can create like that shadowed side to that little daisy. We might even just put some marks in over here, and they become, I don't know if you want to see the reference photo or whether you just rather see the painting. What would you rather? Or a bit of both.
What you got now is really nice because we all see
It's
the
good.
reference.
Oh, good. Okay. So yeah, so now I'm looking, you know how I put the 463, those lovely blues. I can now just put my lights coming in on that left side. So I can put the light on my stems on that left side. And this is where we start building the light for our viewer to see that this is where it's coming. This is where we're telling a story. Every piece of art is a storytelling, isn't it? And I think right throughout our art, this is what we need to be thinking. We need to be thinking, okay, what do I want to tell my viewer? How much do I want to tell my viewer? I want these to be looking like daisies, but then just, if you really look at the marks that I'm making, there's very little detail. And I'm going to not use the Schminky on this one. I'm just going to use a very highlighted blue and just maybe, what do you reckon? Maybe just a couple of little petals. He might be half finished, almost finished, but I'm going to put that dot of light in there, which then shows my viewer that the light is coming on this side. And this is how we direct our viewer and the viewer's eye down throughout the field. This is the bit that I absolutely adore because I'm in the driver's seat. I'm telling my viewer where I want them to look, where I want their eye to go. Now, these pink flowers, I do want to give them a little bit more detail. You look, you can pick and choose which kind of flower you think it is, but I just want to mention dark. This will be my dark, and then a bit of a mid. Maybe they're poppies, maybe they're not. Maybe there's something. Actually, you know what? I think I might even go darker and use that as my light. What do you think? So dark, mid, light. And we're starting to just sort of put the bridesmaids in for our, for our focal flowers. And this is where you have to, this is the bit I love, is that we get to release, sometimes we get tied up with things looking perfect. This is where you get the freedom of creating and nothing being right or wrong. It's just you get that freedom to put marks down and build that that sense of, oh, I don't know, I get really excited when I do this bit, but it's, you know what I mean? You get to build the bones, I guess, of this field. You start thinking, oh, okay, well, I really like, this is why I don't do a pre-selected palette, because I've put a color down and I think, oh, you know what? I really think this could be maybe even that little bit of a bit of mauve, just because we know that's the shadow side. Maybe that mauve will thing, just push that back a little bit. And then I can pop a little bit of this where the light's hitting. And it's the freedom to make marks. And always when I paint, I don't paint for anybody. I do. I paint for me. I don't paint, I don't ever step up to the easel and go, okay, stand back. Today, I'm going to paint a masterpiece. It's going to be amazing. It's never like that. I step up. Each piece is just a joy to paint because I let myself, Tara Will actually says it the best. She says, process over product. And I love that saying because it releases us from the pressures of, oh my gosh, this is not going to be right. Oh, we have to produce something that's perfect. Enjoy the process and the product will come. I can guarantee you that. I am living evidence that, if you allow yourself the freedom to make marks, you become very comfortable with the marks that you're making. And then you're like, well, I must say, sometimes I surprise myself and I think, oh, that actually worked. Look at that. I am quite amazed that this works. So, I think we need to have that plan in mind, but then also lean on the edges and let yourself enjoy the plan. You know what I mean? That sense of freedom is a beautiful thing. So I'm building. See how I'm just building the depth. There's still nothing terribly in focus just yet. These are sort of starting to become in focus, but I'm still just putting these marks down. For me, it's just the process of letting the pastel do the magic. And the magic is not me. Honestly, the magic is in the pastel that we get to play with. Now, who agrees with that? Come on.
We agree.
So any questions? You all agree? You're all very quiet. I hope someone's still there. Otherwise I'm chatting away to myself.
We're just mesmerized.
It's yeah, please.
How do you feel the differences between the pastel matte and the Lux Archival? Lux Archival. What is
Look, the best way?
what is
Sorry.
what is the difference for you between those two?
The best way that I can describe it, and I started describing this in my workshops, pastel mat is my true love. It is absolutely my true love. I can make pastel mat do whatever I want it to do because I trust the process and I let my pastel mat take these layers. Really enjoy how many layers that you can put on. This one here, I swear, I just did this morning, but this one here would have, honestly, it would have 30 layers on the paper, like I'm doing now. Just build, 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 build. So the best way I describe it is pastel mat is my true love, and Lux Archival is my mistress, because Lux Archival, I can't read it. Sometimes it's good and sometimes it's bad. If I'm looking for texture, so I will go Lux Archival. If I'm looking for something, say I'm doing, like lilies, like these lilies here. If I was painting these lilies here, I would probably put them on Lux Archival because they've got that rich, the rich grain on the leaves. They're almost waxy. So I can drag it and get that sanded feel and get that waxy kind of feel to it. So I will use Lux Archival when I'm really looking for something that's just a bit naughty, I don't know if that makes sense. But yeah, I will use Lux Archival when I'm looking for something just a little bit rougher, if you like.
Here, that's good. And then you can use liquid on pastel mat or no?
You can, absolutely. And most people do. I really don't think in the pastel world now, there'd be too many people besides myself that wouldn't use an underpainting. Most of the, I remember when I did my first, demo for the Pastel Society, and it was like at the beginning of COVID for the Pastel Society of America. They asked me to do a demo, and I got up and 90 people watching the demo, and I turned around to the camera and I said, so you guys all do this, and I'm rubbing in. And I turned around to the camera and said, you guys all do this? And they're like, yeah, no, nobody does that, love. Nobody does that. So I felt like I was a little bit of a leper, actually. And I thought, maybe I've really got this by the toe and I don't know what I'm doing. And for a long time, I have to say, and even still today, sometimes I feel like I have no clue what I'm doing, but I love what I'm doing. And it's how I've taught myself to manipulate what I want my art to look like. And I feel like maybe I don't know what I'm doing, but I do know what I'm doing. But you know what I mean? I feel like I probably am one of the people that will step outside the lines because I'm happy to have a turn. I'm happy to experiment and have a go. And so far, I must admit, this process has worked quite nicely for me. So I'm kind of like, yeah, you know what? That's okay. You can be different. And I have to just give you a bit of a backstory. I'm one of 5 girls. We have 7 girls, 7 children in my immediate family. And I'm one of 7. And my mum, I think I'll tell you a little story. I was the only one that was sent to boarding school. So that should tell you something. Yeah, I've always been a rat bag and I've always just leaned on the rules. So I guess when I started painting, I was like, yeah, you know what? I'm doing this for me. I please myself when I paint. I don't please anyone else. So if I'm happy with it, to me, it doesn't matter how I get there. What matters to me is the process and the enjoyment of how I got there. And I guess the way that I teach is you have to know the rules. There's no 2 ways about it. You do have to understand composition and value and combos and your color wheel and stuff like that. You do have to know it, but every rule is made to be stretched. So I guess I want, I don't want people to paint like Stephie Clark because she's being done over here in Australia by me. So what I do want to do, though, is tell people it's okay if you want to paint like that or you want to put a mark down like that, go right ahead. As long as you've got your composition in mind, you've got your understanding of where you're going. You can't just, it looks like I just throw pastel on and it works. There's always a plan behind that. Do you know what I mean? But I guess my goal for you guys, and anyone else who wants to sit and watch, is do you, but experiment, have a turn, see what you think. Now I'm just going to start putting in a couple of my focal flowers. This is where we get, with this light, we get our viewer's eye to go, oi, stop. It doesn't go off the page. Stop there. Oh, we're going to bring them back. So yes, it doesn't look like this, but I'm start reading this instead of starting to read that. So any questions about that? These words of wisdom that I'm sure every other artist is just cringing at. No? Is anyone still there?
I think that when you're self-taught, you have less of that breaking the rules, because you're trying to do new things and try different ways. And I think it's freeing a lot. I mean, I'm a self-taught artist as well. And
Yeah.
I'm not afraid to break the rules. And I think that's
Exactly. And
it.
I feel like this is what we should be telling people, though, that there's no hard and fast rule. You do you. And I love that, test the process. If it works for you, if the underpaintings work for you and you love that guidance, an underpainting for me would kill me because it's telling me where I need to go. I get to decide as I go where I want things, but you can see how I still have a plan, but the plan is, well, in my world, I run the no plan. There's a plan, but there's not really a plan. So now I'm just going to pop in just a couple. But yeah, I think you're absolutely right. You do get that sense of being freer, definitely. And when I was first starting to paint, because I've only been painting since 2011, and it was as a New Year's resolution that I decided to teach myself to paint. I've never been arty. I've always been creative, but never arty, and never. So I took myself, after my New Year's resolution was to teach myself watercolor, understanding nothing about watercolor or how difficult watercolor can be. I had no clue, but I took myself down to the library and, got all the watercolor books out, started doing a little bit of watercolor, but I used to, I've never been great on painting, drawing. So I would just freehand what I wanted to paint. And obviously it was always flowers. So I've always leaned towards the suggestion of things, always leaned towards the suggestion. So see how we're slowly working our way down, telling our viewer where we want them to look. But yeah, I took myself to the library, and then, some of the paintings were actually okay. They weren't too dodgy. So I was like, oh, well, I'll keep going with this. And then I went to a Picasso exhibition in 2011 on November 26th, 2011. I stood in front of a Picasso and I was absolutely besotted by what this man could do, because he was an amazing fine artist in his day. And I was absolutely amazed with what he put on paper. And I walked out of the National Gallery in Sydney, and I Googled closest art shop because I just knew that I needed to paint. And I walked over to the art shop, which was across the road from Hyde Park, and I said to the lady, look, I don't have any drying time. My daughter that I'm staying with now used to live in Sydney. And I said, I've got to meet my daughter in 2.5 hours, but I really want to paint. What can you recommend? And she handed me my first set of Conti pastels. And if I could go back, I would kiss that lady and just say, thank you so much for introducing me to my best friend. Like, this has just been a massive game changer for me, because it's so immediate, it's so relaxing, and I honestly can't believe they pay me to paint, but yeah, it's just the most beautiful medium. If you want to just sit and paint, this is your ticket. Like, it's so easy and so quick, and it's not demanding. And I would say it's probably one of the easier, forgiving, let's say, not easier. Let's say it's a forgiving medium. Don't you agree?
Definitely.
Yeah, it is just such a beautiful, forgiving medium. And one of my students. Well, I've got lots of students, but one of my students is 92, and she used to come to my studio, and I would teach her at the studio. She's now handed her license in, so I go to her every 2 weeks. So so it's for every age. So I teach 3 little girls in London once a month. And they are 5, 7, and 11. So it's for every age. Honestly, any age can do pastels. Any age. I really believe it is and we need to be singing its praises from the rooftops, I think. So can you see how I feel like I need one here, but just something flat, not too much detail, but I need something to bring my eye from that one to this one, like a little lead in, don't you think?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just something there. I don't know what it is, but yeah, something there. And this is where you stop reading your reference photo, and I might just pick out, oh, I really like this little bunch here. Let's just do a couple of those sort of ones. I've added this blue because the blue and red look just so beautiful in any field. But the little cornflowers, anytime I've seen a field of flowers, there's always cornflowers and red poppies go together. Nature just seems to spread those. Sorry, I was just looking for my eggplant. So any questions?
Just mesmerized by the beauty, Steffi. It's just unbelievable.
Oh,
Wow.
thank you. Thank you. But it's really it's going back to basics and using your values. Sorry, I cut you off then.
I was just going to say, we have so much rain in California the last 2 years that the wildflowers are popping everywhere. So I'm going to go take pictures tomorrow.
Oh, good, good, good. It is one of the things I absolutely adore in France. And I go to France every year. In fact, this year I'm running a 10-day workshop down in the south of France at an art retreat. So that's going to be exciting. So we'll be in amongst all these gorgeous wildflowers. The where are we? Californian ones. You have a lot of those orange ones, the orange poppies, don't you?
Oh, yeah. Our state flower, the poppy.
Oh, they're your star. I didn't know
Mhm.
that. Okay. Oh, there we are. I've learned something. So
Yeah.
I just want to show you guys here. See these two here? They're out of focus. These ones here have lovely crisp edges. So these are the bridesmaids to these ones. I don't want your eye to stop on there. What I want you to do is swing down and go, oh, yeah. Okay. So this is why we do in focus, out of focus. So it's important. I think most people can do good backgrounds. Most people can do in focus. I reckon, I honestly believe, I don't know. Do you guys say I reckon? I don't know whether you do, whether that's an American thing to say, but it is very Australian. I reckon just means this is what I think. But I believe it is something that that mid-ground is imperative to get right. Now I'm going to show you, just for fun, I'm going to show you how to stop my viewer's eye going out of the page. So I'm holding you in by stroke direction. See how I've turned that one to send you back in there. The strokes and you'll notice that I put a stroke down, and yes, this is probably the 2000 millionth copy I've ever painted, because they are one of my favorite things to paint. But put a stroke down and leave it alone, and you will win. Don't think everything has to be you know, absolutely perfect. Just put your marks down and trust the process. I guess that's one of the most important things. Use the rules, I guess, if you like, the rules that we know, light over dark, dark over light. So I'm going to have to wipe my hands because my hands are really dirty. And I want to go back up into that little pink area and just put a little bit more, but my hands are really dirty. Normally, if I was at home, I would just chuck a glove on, but I didn't bring gloves with me. So I would just pop a glove on. But what I want to do is just add a little bit of light and adjust my values as we go. So yes, I don't know what sort of flower that is, but I've told you it's there. I've told you it's there. And, you know, mention them in that background. And it's important for us to remember to put these suggested things in. Yeah, I hope that makes sense. So down in here, light over dark, see this lovely dark area down here? I think I probably need another couple of these just suggested little poppy daisies down in here. So maybe a couple, I need to darken this up. So I will throw a little bit of, I hope I'm not going too fast, am I? How are we going for time?
Oh, we're fine. It's
Oh, good.
just 7:30.
Oh,
we're
good.
good.
Well, that's okay, good. I don't want to hold you guys up from dinner. Okay, so just a little bit of light over there.
Thanks, honey.
A little bit of light there. And then I think down in here, we could just kiss just a couple of little, doesn't have to be a hard, you know, a definite daisy. It could just be something that just suggestion of a daisy. What do you reckon? And see down in here, we're going to bring these ones down here now. But down in this area here, this is where my 463, my 179, this is where my darks really come into their own. I want to, you know, pull that gorgeous dark down in here because then I can grab my beautiful highlights. So where my lights are going to go, I can drag some of these gorgeous little this little bit of movement down. Oh, look at that. And I love, like, you know, we're often asked, oh, which ones are your favorites? They're all my favorites. There's a spot for every pastel in your kit. There really is. And if somebody says you don't need more pastels, step away from them. Just, you don't need that. You don't need that in your life. It's just not right. Even if you know yourself, you don't. But you see how we can just build that flow. It's that movement because we're letting our pastels do the magic, don't you think? So I think maybe we need to start building. See how we go dark, mid, and then my lights. My favorite yellows, I would have to say, and I'll give you a little tip here. My favorite yellows are the Blue Earth yellows, the YA 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I love this is my darker side, so I'm just going to come in with that gorgeous dark, that nice gentle little blues. I'm kind of matching my values. If we black and whited this now, do you know what I mean by the black and white? So if you take a photo, I think this is one of the best tips. I tell all my students this. If you take a photo and then go into your photos any minute now, or maybe not. Here we go. Pop it to the filter and go across to mono. I can check where my darks are, where my lights are. So right now you can see where my light source is. See this here? But to me, I need a little bit more crisscross of the dark. So you know how I was saying light over dark? Now I know because I've checked. And at this point, I would step back, but see how I can bring a little bit of dark over that light. But that is one of the best things that you can do to check your values is look at that and do a self-check. Really, it's important that we do this. And I think if you ever think that you're that fancy that you don't need to do it, you're doing yourself a disservice because I do it every single painting. I check whether my values are correct and whether my story is being told. And the story of the light is where I'm like, okay, so I do love some to overlap. So I'm just going to pop a little bit of light on that side. What do you think? Maybe if I go a lighter value of periwinkle, I might do just a couple on that side. I feel like that reads okay because I almost want that lovely that movement, that flow of where I want you to look. So that light's coming down here, so we might just kiss it with a little bit of schminky. The schminky white is perfect for that. And if you do think, oh, there's too much in focus, don't rub. One of the best things to do is just put your finger on it and move back, and then try a different finger because that one will be dirty. So that you're just sort of misappearing it. You're not rubbing it. You're not sending it, this way or that way. And on the ones that you want to really show a little bit of in your focus, put a hard line because that's where we want our viewer to rest. That lovely little hard line. Okay, I'm going to put just a kiss there. I do love the little bunches, those little bunches down in there. I really love them. This is what drew me to this. In fact, when I was in France last year, I was at an international exhibition. I was part of an international exhibition in the south of France. And we were walking up, it was 42 degrees, which I know is like 108 where you live. It was so hot. It was disgusting. And I was walking up to the big exhibition centre with Philippe, and I said to him, "Oh, Philippe, I just need to stop." And he was like, "Oh, are you okay?" And I said, "Yeah. I want to take a photo of the flowers." And they were on the roadside. And I said to him, No, I want to take a photo of the flowers." And he goes, "Madame Clark, why do you stop and take a photo of the weeds?" And for him, they were weeds. For me, they were like, "Oh, look at these flowers. Look at this beauty in here, But we all see things, beauty's in the eye of the beholder, isn't it? But he was like,
Mhm.
"Why do you stop for the weeds? There are beautiful flowers in the garden." I'm like, "Oh no, these are the flowers I want. This is what I'm." Oh,
The accident is just over $43,000.
somebody needs to mute, I think.
And that stuff that they had said.
Patty V, can you mute? Patty,
I've muted her.
Ah, good job. Yeah, so I've lost my train of thought. Sorry. The train left without me.
Steffi,
Okay, so
can you,
now, yeah.
can you tell me again what reds you're using?
Oh, yes, absolutely. So Terry Ludwig reds are, there's, besides, yep. So Terry Ludwig reds and the really beautiful bright ones, Art Spectrum Extra Soft. They are the most amazing reds. If you guys can get your hands on them, they are beautiful. They are seriously beautiful. This one here is worrying me. I really think I need to give it a little bit of warmth. Just doesn't look quite right. So what I'm going to do is just send her into something that looks like this, but I'm going to give her one darker side, and then I'm going to sort of smudge her out. My go-tos with any sort of blues too, yeah, that looks better. My go-to blues are, or greys, sort of more grey, are my Art Spectrum Extra Soft, and I'm not sponsored by them, but my Art Spectrum Extra Soft Cool Greys. So anytime I'm painting a white flower, they will have the Art Spectrum Extra Soft. Oh, that's better. Don't you think? That just looks better to me. That reads much nicer. I do believe I do need a little bit more dark here and there because we're on the light and we really do need to. Do you think it's reading okay? I think maybe I'll put another one of those over this side. And this is where really I've stopped reading the reference photo, and I'm stepping back and reading what is in front of me. And, you know, is it telling the story? Is it stopping my viewer where I need to stop them? Is it really giving a nice sense of a field? Is there movement? Is there any more I need to say? Another thing is that I will tell you, stop when you think you are 80% done. Because you know, and we all do it, and if you don't do it, then I think you're a storyteller. We all do it. We overwork because we think more is better. Less is always better, because you need to stop, walk away and go, have I told my viewer what I wanted to tell them? Is there everything that's said needed to be said? I want a little bit more light down in here. And, you know, is there everything I've said? Is there, have I got enough information for my viewer to stop and really enjoy this beautiful field? See how we've got this lovely dark section? I think I can put a little bit more light in there. Maybe this, what do you think? Maybe that, just a kiss of red, like a darker red. Maybe it's just going to have one little bit of red down in there. Often when I'm looking at this, I actually think that red needs to come up here, don't you? I feel like we need something red up the top, whether it's just 2 or 3 strokes and different values, just to bring, I don't know, just kind of, for me, that balances those reds there. Step back, have a look, and really, I just think enjoying the process. Look, you know, does that need, I think it needs a little bit of dark up there. So any questions, you guys? I kind of feel about now, I'm not sure that there's much more I need to say. I feel like I've told you, I like the magic of the pastel down in here. I would love something more red down in this corner here, but this is where, and you would probably know my work by my signature. I use a lot. I do have a big signature. There is a story behind my signature and why I have the signature that I do. My dad died in 2003. So he never ever knew that I could paint. And when I started painting, I said to my husband, Dad never, and my dad was my best buddy. And I said, Dad never knew that I could paint. And he and my mum were the only ones in my life that I would ever let me call me Steffi. I was like, yeah, no, it's a very personal, you know, very. Anyway, when I started painting, I decided that I would represent my dad and I would call myself Stephie Clark. Well, my name is Clark, but yeah, Steffi. And so when I started painting, I decided that every painting that I did, I would do in memory of my dad. So I started signing Stephie Clark. Well, firstly, I started signing Steffi. And so in an instance like this, where I think, oh, maybe I'd like another little red, beautiful dark greens. So I'm going to go in with a beautiful red. And instead of using another poppy down here, I'm actually going to sign my name in red, which to me almost represents another poppy in that building. And it's in memory of my dad.
That's great.
I love that. I love that.
So
Bravo,
that's it.
Steffi. Yay.
It was
I
amazing.
hope you
to
enjoyed
watch
it.
do.
Thank
So
you.
did you,
It was
yeah, did
beautiful.
you understand the
I-
process?
It was great.
Yeah.
Just loved it. I kind of followed along, and I've never done
Excellent.
flowers before.
Oh, good. Oh, good. I love that. Oh, let me have a look at some of you. Oh, it's beautiful. Good job. Oh, I'm as blind as a bat, so I'll have to pop my glasses on.
Oh, okay. Yeah, beautiful.
Oh, that's lovely.
it.
Good.
I think
And putting a stroke down and leaving it alone and trusting the process and enjoying it. You know, pastel mat, you should never ever throw pastel mat out. It can be repurposed, it can be wet, it can be wiped down, it can be painted over, it can, you know, you can do a million things with it. If you throw a piece of pastel mat out, I want a note as to why you've thrown it out. So it is the type of paper that you could do anything on. It's just the most beautiful paper.
I think you enjoyed doing it, and you enjoyed it so much. I enjoyed it right along with you.
Yes.
Oh, good. Every painting I enjoy. Even I kind of feel like too, every time we step up, and even if the paintings don't go the way we want them to, and I've got a box full of paintings that need to be repurposed, but every painting that we do, we learn something, don't we? Even if it is that we learn what not to do.
Absolutely.
It's practice with a purpose.
It is. That is exactly right. And don't ever beat yourself up. Oh, it's rubbish. It's this, it's that. It's every
only
time you
paper.
do. Yeah. It's only paper. And in my business, nobody died. So there's a bonus because, you know, for years I was a theatre nurse as well. So, you know, you've got to put it all into perspective. It is just enjoy the process.
Steffi, I got to work with you at IAPS, the last IAPS, when you did your grapes.
Yes.
No, was it the grapes or yeah?
Grapes.
Yeah. Who am I talking to?
Marty Giorgio. Hi.
Oh yeah, Marty, you were in my class. Yeah.
Yes, I really loved it, and I loved learning about how you blended the background and made it so soft. It was wonderful.
Yeah, thank you. It was Red Weber actually said to me a couple of weeks ago, she said, your class sold out in 22 minutes. And I was like, wow, that was fast. And I said, wow, that was fast. And she said, no, that's not fast. Your one in 2022 sold out in 12 minutes. And I was like, what? That's nuts. That is nuts. That's crazy. So yeah, I thank everybody for.
Yeah, I took a picture of some
for,
wildflowers down the street, and now I know I can work with them.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
I know. Like, I'm just south of you, so in Poway, San Diego area. So you know the
perfect.
The flowers are popping out all over.
Yeah. Okay. Well, you're lucky. We're coming into autumn, so things are starting to
die out.
Beautiful colors. Not so much down the beach because Monique's right on the beach. So, but up where I live, up in the mountains, it is beautiful. All the trees are starting to turn. But I've got like 6 summers coming up because I've got, well, maybe not 6, but I come to IAPS and then I go to France for September. So after June, I'll have about 10 summers. So that's a bit of fun.
That's great.
Yeah.
I think we're gonna have a super bloom in Southern California. You really ought to.
Yeah. I think it started in down
Wow.
the desert already, Borrego. Anza Borrego, I think it started already.
Oh, good job.
I'm hoping to visit the Carrizo Plain.
Oh, I went there last year. It was amazing. It was really
I think I already saw pictures of Lancaster.
Oh, okay. So, and the thing is, if we take, and I've got 97,000 photos on my phone, and that's not a word of a lie. That's not good. I've had to buy more storage for my phone, but every photo we take, we're inspired by. You know, you probably don't need that many, but we are inspired by them. And don't think, oh, I could never do that. You can take a reference photo like I've done here. You can take a reference photo and it looks like this, but it doesn't really look like that there, does it? So it's up to us to take that artistic license and enjoy what we've got in front of us and use our artistic voice to show off what we can do with these amazing pastels. It's just the best. I just love pastels so much.
I have a question about, sorry, go ahead. You mentioned earthberry pastels. I've never used those.
Yes.
And they look white. Are they bigger?
They are. Yes, they are. Let me just find one that's intact. So this is one here.
Wow.
They're from Russia. and they are made completely with natural products. There's all the pigments are out of the ground. So they are made, they're beautiful. And I bought them during COVID, and there was a lovely little Russian mother and daughter trying to make a living amongst everything that's going on in Russia. And so I have a Russian Ukrainian friend, and she got them through. In fact, it took me 5 months to get them because they were held in Israel for a long time. But I think they're probably a little bit more, like a little easier to get now. But Earthberry pastels, I would highly recommend them. I use a lot of and some of their colors are chameleons. They look like this one here, for instance. This one, I'll just switch you around and show you. This one here looks dirty. Hold on, I'll give it a wipe. But it looks like a light turquoisey kind of green. But when it goes on, and then you put another color over it, it takes over. Let me just try this little. It takes on, like, they're beautiful to glaze with. It takes on the most gorgeous colors. So I bought the full set just to help them out, because it's some way that I could, donate money without donating money. And I need more pastels, obviously. But yeah, look, they are really beautiful pastels, and I do use them a lot. I also make my own pastels. So from the dust that I collect and little bits and bobs that I collect. So this is one of my, can you guys see that? I'm not sure if I'm down far enough. Yeah, this is one of my beautiful blues, just all my blues, and they make the most beautiful backgrounds. So I've just got all my little, you know how you get all these little dodgy little bits at the end of the day. I just grind them down with, and I've made lots of different colors, but I put them in color coded, sort of blues, not necessarily light or dark, but put them in, and I put them, my husband does all the cooking. And I nicked his mortar and pestle. And he came one day and he's like, I want to make pesto. Have you seen the mortar and pestle? Did you put it away? I'm like, no, sweetie, I used it for my pastel making. And he's like, of course you did. So you grind them down with your mortar and pestle. And then because they are already made pastels, they have the binder in them. And all you do is get distilled water, and you can drip just distilled water with the dust, grind it right down. I usually put them through a sieve as well, and then just to get the lumpy bits out. But as you can see, sometimes not all the lumpy bits are out, but it makes beautiful marks, really beautiful marks. So even the little tiny bits are never thrown away. For me, pastels are very user-friendly. They're also very eco-friendly, because you don't throw any of the dust away. Even with my workshops, I get all my students, I put foil, aluminium foil under, or what do you say, aluminum foil underneath the trays, just in case you don't know what aluminium is. Aluminum foil underneath the tray, and they fold their dust up at the end of the day, and I take that home, and they make the most beautiful grey. So it's, it's like a full cycle. You can go, if you have a little tiny bit, you can still grind them down, make the most beautiful pastels.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Once you got your box of pastels, how did you start learning about how to use pastel? What workshops did you take? By whom? I took no workshops at all. I again went down to the library and looked for pastel books, which I must say there were not many. And, you get the ones that show the stippling and that sort of thing. Do you know how I taught myself? I stood up to the easel and I thought, do I like this way? Do I like that way? And I just tested it. I had my first class in 2015. So I taught myself from 2011 through to September 2015. And then my husband said to me, why don't you just find someone, and if you want to, you can go and have a lesson. If you want, I sort of got my style. I think my style I'm very determined. I knew what I wanted my art to look like. So it was just a matter of finding the right products and finding the right
the pastel mat because I started on Canson, my tints, Art Spectrum, Color Fix. I started on different papers to what, and when I found pastel mat, and then I did what's the French one, La Carte Pastel. When I started on that, I thought, oh, hello, I love this texture that I can get. It didn't worry me because you can't use water on that one, but it didn't worry me. And then when I found pastel mat, it's the layer, layer, layer. When I found that I could layer on pastel mat, so I think it's trial and error is how I came about it. And then in 2015, Gav said, you know, go and have a class somewhere. And I went back to him and I said, oh, I found someone I want to have a class with. And he goes, oh, okay, where is it? And I said, I'm sure he was expecting somebody in Australia. And I said, oh, no, 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 she's in the south of France. And he goes, of course she is. So I took myself over and I had a week with Mo France Osterhof. And yeah, that's pretty much, that's the only class that I've been to go and learn about pastels. But I paint extremely different to her. She paints with the really big pastels, you know, the really big round Art Spectrum extra soft. She loves those really big round. They're massive. She paints very big. She often doesn't paint with smaller pastels. But yeah, so I did a week with her, and then I've done maybe a handful of classes, you know, just to learn somebody's technique. Corey Pitkin, I love how loose he is with portraits. If I ever start doing portraits, I haven't done a lot of portraits. But if, you know, I think you find the people that you're drawn to. I don't think I could ever do super hyper realism because I'm too, I don't know. I just don't, whether I've got ADHD, I don't know. But like, I just don't have the patience to sit there for 2.5 years and paint really slowly. I paint fast. I enjoy the way that I paint. I love Monet. I love the Impressionists. I love how you can say something without telling all the detail. I love the suggestion. So I think what I tell my students is go to a myriad of different artists. Go to the people that you are drawn to. Like I've done Tony Elaine. I love how he can put a mark down. And you know, even if what I came away with from Mo France was confidence. She taught me confidence. So not so much how to paint, but put it down. What's it going to hurt? So I think each teacher has something to give you, and I don't expect that, you know, people will stay with me. I've had students that come and gone and come and gone and come and gone because whatever they're up to, at whatever stage they're up to, even if it's one little gem that I can pass on to them and they go, oh, and you know how sometimes you hear the same thing over and over and over, and then one day it clicks and you're like, oh, get that now. So I recommend that you do try lots of different artists. I really do. And, you know, gather information, glean what you want off the paper, off artists, and then go away and go, okay, who am I? What do I want to say? And how can I make my voice sing? That's what we want. We want to see people's voices. We don't want to see carbon copies of this one, that one, or the other one. We want to see you know, I'm saying I've got my favorite yellows, my blues, my greens, my darks. If you've got a favorite color, run with it, you know, show me that it's your favorite color because that's what makes you unique. I don't know if that answered your question, but yeah.
It did. What was the name of the first workshop lady you went to? Waldorf?
Marie France Osterhof. She's Osterhof, Osterhof. Yeah, she lives in France.
Steffi, I want to ask if she was interested in doing one of these theme Thursdays. It would be like the middle of the morning, like 4 a.m. for her though.
I would probably, yeah, she doesn't do anything online. She does face-to-face in France. But she's just lost her husband. So I would imagine that she's not quite at that stage. They were renovating in a house. She's still a very good friend of mine. Yeah, look, you could ask her. I wouldn't say yes or no for her, but you could ask her. But look, yeah, I don't know. I would be happy to help her out if she needed help, but yeah, I you would have to ask her. But yeah, she was the first person that I went to. Yeah. But there are so many, aren't there? And we all have something to give one another. I don't ever think that I know everything. I love going to other people's workshops, just or listening to how other people talk. I remember at Pastel Expo in Australia last year, Lynn Diefenbach she's a good friend of mine, and she was interviewing Harley Brown. And I was between a workshop and a demo, and I sat down for half an hour to listen to the interview. And I've always had the worst case of imposter syndrome because I haven't been to art school. I don't know what I'm doing. I just love what I do. And so seriously, I have at IAPS, I almost threw up before my demo because I was so nervous. Mala Baguetta walks past me and she goes, "Oh, Stephie, Richard and I've got front row seats at your demo." And I was like, "Oh God, I'm gonna die. What if I can't paint?" And I just went into this big panic. And I sat there listening to Lynn's interview with Harley, and Harley Brown to me is just like he's the god of pastels for me. He the way that he puts pastel on paper, if I could come back as anyone, I want to be Harley Brown. But he was saying things that I say in my workshops, and I had this moment where I was like, hold on, that's what I say, so maybe I do know what I'm saying. Like I had to trust myself, but I had a light bulb moment. Every single one of us knows what we're saying. We just all say it in a different way because there's different ways of learning this. I don't know how many are on here tonight, but there might be one person who picks up something that Stephie Clark says that helps them. That's what I'm here for.
Steffi, when I was in art school, I had a teacher who, after 2 years, who's a life drawing teacher, he would kick students out of the class. He'd say, "Go take a class with somebody else." Because he said, "I've been telling you the same stuff for 2 years. Next, you're going to hear somebody else, and they're going to say something, and you're going to hear my voice in your head."
Yep.
And he was right.
I totally agree with that because I think we all say the same thing in different ways. I really do. But there are just sometimes, how we're just open to some information on one day where I've been saying, like I've got a student who is in South Carolina. I've been teaching her for 5 years, and I've said to her, and this is what we've done, I've said to her, I don't think I can teach you anything else because you need to now go away and practice what I've taught you. So instead of doing art every week, we do it once a month, So she comes back and goes, well, this is what I had a go at. And then I can critique and, absolutely. I think we all and I don't just mean people who teach for a living. I mean, all of us, we can all sit down with one another. And I'm sure you guys feel like this on your Thursday group. When you discuss things, you think, oh, yeah. So whether you've got a degree or not, for me, means absolute. To me, if you've got a love of pastels, you've got a love of art, you can do. I'm probably the best example of what not to do, but it works. So when I start a demo,
This is Lynn Addig. I just wanted to say, I hope you get a chance to check the chat because you have some amazing comments in there about how much everyone enjoyed this tonight. And I think we had about 40.
Oh, good.
It is a holiday weekend starting tonight, so I think we would have even had more, but it's the beginning of, the Easter holiday.
Yeah.
And just got here in time. So anyway, I want you to check the chat before we sign off. So
I will. Thank you so much. I really appreciate everybody taking time to spend some time with me in the kids' toy room. Oh
my God.
looking at my beautiful mural. I'll just show you something. Look at this little turtle. Every time I paint, he looks at me. I'm like, why are you looking at me? Why are you staring at me? But it's all done in pastels. How cool is that?
Wow, adorable.
It's so much fun. They love it. They just love it.
many grandchildren do you have?
6.
6 grandchildren. Oh my
Yeah,
God.
6. See, I have 2 girls, and what this family has 2, a boy and a girl, Bentley and Zara. And then my other daughter, she has 4 kids. Get this, she has 4 kids under 5.
Whoa.
Yeah, she's nuts. She's absolutely nuts. But it's the busiest household. But I have one. She has Sunny, Maui, Banksy, and Torvi, and she's actually my manager. The one that's got the 4 children is my manager. She does an amazing job. So everything that's booked is booked through Sophie. She's incredible. So I'm so grateful to Soph. It's great. I'm wondering if I can get a copy of the recording too. That would be lovely.
Margie, thank you so much for setting this up for us. And Steffi, amazing. We can't wait to see you at IAPS.
Yeah, neither. I can't wait to get there.
I think
Well,
that
Steffi, this goes online.
Yeah,
We
it'll be
recorded
online.
it.
Oh, perfect. Perfect.
Yeah. Put on our Pastel Society of Southern California YouTube channel. So
Oh,
give it
right.
days or a week to get it uploaded, but then you'll be able to
Yeah.
view all the other ones that we have. So
Perfect. Thank you.
Lynn,
Thanks for having me.
Are you able to send the chat? I think there's a way to print the chat.
Oh,
Like,
I'd love to. I'd love
I
to read
don't know
the
how
chat.
to do it, but I thought there was a way to turn it
There
into
is.
a
Just
There is
excuse.
a way.
Oh,
I can make a copy of that.
Can
Yeah,
you?
send that to
you can?
Thank you. Is that Lupe?
Oh, that would be lovely.
Cool.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. It's so lovely to meet you all. And look, if you see me at IAPS, I could very well be jet lagged. But if you do see me at IAPS, please come up and make yourself known to me. I would love that. I would really, yeah. See you. I've just looked at that. Just taken it out of the camera holder. So yeah, thank you.
And you can hang out
Thanks.
with us anytime you want at IAPS.
Thank you.
There's a whole gang going.
Oh, let me tell you, I will. And also I'll be at the candy store because we all need more pastels.
sure.
Oh dear, I'm a tragic. Just a tragic. In fact, I think it's been said once before that I'm the president of the Pastels Addiction Society. So, there we go. I'm the president.
We're all
So
members.
thanks. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
I think
so
that's the. Yeah. Look, I think that's the nicest thing. You get to hang with people who know how you feel.
That's true.
All righty. Thanks, guys. Have a lovely evening and happy and safe Easter.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Everybody.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.